Hi, everybody. So, Kelly and I are here together today, and we're going to be talking about the new moon. We're going to be talking about the extra temporary moon that has just shown up, and we're going to be talking about the black moon today. So, remember that astrology is showing us all of the beautiful energies that are coming, and it's like a roadmap to what's happening. And I think the roadmap is basically two big changes. So I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear what Kelly has to say because she really explains it in a way that I can actually understand as well. So I love that. And so tell us how you're doing, Kelly. The last amount of change was pretty massive that we just had. And now we're going into even more.
hmm Well, 2 weeks ago, we had a full moon eclipse, and,
Mhm.
and the patterning and the choreography in the celestial realm is like so amazing. And so that was an eclipse, but this new moon is a solar eclipse, which is the rarer eclipse. And it's not total because the moon is a little far away and there's going to be a ring of fire around it. The
Mhm.
light of the sun is going to show around the moon like a halo. And I think these are the really most exquisite, but they're very powerful. And the pattern, as we will be looking at, of this eclipse is also very powerful. And we've been talking, honey, about how the planets and the stars are living energies. And
Mhm.
I was listening to a YouTube talk by Rupert Sheldrake last night, who said that very thing. And he
Oh,
was talking about them uh, in relation to being potentially angelic energies. And there's many realms of the angels apparently. So
oh yeah.
they're what and I think the planets and the stars are somewhat in different realms because the planets are not the stars and they move across the backdrop of the fixed stars. So the astrology can encompass both the planets, especially modern astrology, because we know about the planets more. In the old days, they were more about the sky, the stars in the sky, the heavenly hosts, kind of
Mhm.
thing. So, but we use both of those, and I'm trying to keep it simple, to just focus on some of the most important things going on in each lunation, the new moons and the full moons. So this one is another whopper-doodle. And
Yeah.
we can feel it, can't we? We can really feel it.
Mhm.
And that's interesting that this kind of second moon, is kind of visiting for a while, because of the pattern of this new moon brings us very much to consider the lunar energy.
Mhm.
And another moon called the black moon, which isn't a moon at all. So why do they call it the black moon? And some people call a new moon the black moon because we can't see the moon when it's new. It's dwelling in the house of the sun.
Mhm.
So we can't see it. And some people say the new moon is actually a day or two after the official joining of the sun and the moon, when we can actually see the thin, thin, thin sliver of the crescent.
Yeah. To me, it's just so exciting because the energies, the last few weeks, it's been like this huge purge for people. And we've been letting go of all of those feelings of lack
Mm.
and unworthiness. And we kind of got to the point, at least the majority of humanity has gotten to the point where they're just like, I give up, bring in the good stuff. I give up trying to make it happen in my mind, and I'm
Oh,
going to surrender to the universe to let the universe just bring it in because we worked through a lot of stuff with the human consciousness, and that's creating massive changes.
Mm,
But these new energies, when you think about it, like there's another push that's about
yeah.
to happen. And
Yes.
I'm super excited for this push because it feels really good for humanity. And I think that's what the significance is of that new, very small celestial body, is that it's bringing in a lot of change.
Mm, I
Yeah.
like that. I like that a lot. And, this whole thing about letting go of lack, in
Mhm.
some people's astrology charts, you can tell that there's more of an issue about that. And I have two friends who have, I think of the planet Venus as being very much about abundance and beauty and, the goddesses who have all the golden coins falling around them.
Mhm.
And if there's a karmic pattern that some people have where there's a lot of issues around that. And these two people I'm thinking of are a little stuck there and they're not through what you just mentioned yet. They haven't gotten there yet, but I do think that this lunar cycle, a new moon starts a whole lunar cycle, could be this next what you're calling a push.
Yeah.
And and I also want to say that a couple of days ago, I woke up with an unusual dream. And in this dream, I was being instructed. And this phrase kept repeating itself. And they even spelled it for me. I had to go over the spelling so I would spell it right and remember it. It was like they had to really like etch it, in my mind so I would remember this dream. So the phrase, it was preliminary solar flash. And so I'm thinking that this particular new moon, that's a solar eclipse,
Mhm.
could fit that description. And the
Yeah.
thing is, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the way they spelled preliminary was Prelimbary. So it breaks down into pr prelim, like a limbs, your
Yeah.
limbs, and binary.
Yeah.
So that also intrigued me that they spelled it that way. So I started thinking about, my legs and my arms, but and finding balance in 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 there. Because, when we walk, we're out of balance for just the tiniest moment.
Mhm.
And that's part of the theme of this new moon, because Libra is a sign of balance. So what were you
Yeah.
going to say there? What were you going to say there?
Well, we've been in the solar activity for a very long time. But what this says to me is that there will be two big pushes,
Hmm.
and they're not going to be like, I don't get that it's like solar devastating flash. It's just a big push, maybe bigger than we've experienced.
Mm.
But one is feminine and one is masculine.
Oh, mm.
So that's what comes in from higher self. So this is the pre. So what we're coming into is the pre. And I had a dream last night that was crazy, and it was about celebration.
Oh,
But I had to create this huge, and it kind of looked like something you would see like at one of those World's Fairs.
mm.
But I had this huge circle that was made in a grid pattern. And inside of it is where the celebration was happening. And I was telling people, we are getting ready to celebrate. So start preparing the party. So basically, we were preparing this party inside of this enormous circle.
Mm.
And I think that we're there basically. Like, it's time to prepare to celebrate, it's time to prepare for the good, fun life to come into your own life, and start thinking about what does that mean for you? What is your ideal fun lifestyle feel like? And start feeling it now. So those two dreams are pretty awesome.
Yes, yes. Well, there's so much intensity going on, and a lot of people are, all the flooding and everything all over
Oh
the
yeah.
world. So that's a little hard to keep your head above the water, so to speak, when that you're right in the middle of that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a huge cleanse that's going on.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
A
Absolutely.
lot of Atlantis energy. And
Oh,
I know that they're predicting two more to come up,
hmm,
in that same area. But I don't see them as being as devastating as the last one. The
hmm,
last one, there were two things that happened, and I don't want to be too conspiracy in the show, but there were two things that fell apart and
hmm,
created huge flooding. And I think that they were rigged to
hmm,
do so. But the the rest of it
hmm,
was an energetic cleanse.
hmm.
And it needed to happen because that's when humanity actually was put into the position that humanity's been in for so long. So Atlantis is when that
Right,
began.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So it needed to be cleansed out. Okay.
Well, here, let's take a look
Let's
then
dig
at
in. Yeah.
that stuff, at the chart patterns. So can you see this now?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the pattern of the new moon, which is October 2nd, and I'm on Eastern time, so it's 2:49 p.m. Eastern time in the US here. So, do your own calculations there. So this, as we see, there's the moon and there's the sun, and they're in the very same place, 10 degrees, 3 minutes of the sign of Libra. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there around that. Now, this little horseshoe symbol is one of the nodes of the moon. And we see the other one over here facing in the other direction. The nodes of the moon, the dragon tail over here in Libra, and the dragon head over here in Aries indicate where eclipses are happening at any point. It shows where the path of the moon is crossing the path of the sun, and then we're aligned with the sun and moon in a way we can see eclipses. So, I can just look at this chart and say, oh, that's a solar eclipse. It's pretty strong. So, and I want to start out by saying, there are some people who are going to feel this very intensely more than others. And of course, if this is your birthday, yes, this is going to be quite a year for you. Or if your moon is in Libra or Aries, or other planets if you have them there. But especially, I want to note the people who have the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, that stay in a sign for a while, and so people who have one of those planets, and I'm looking at the Libra side, are really going to feel this. So particularly people born from 1945 to 1949 have
Mm.
the planet Neptune in Libra. And this is like zeroing right in on their Neptune activation. People born in 1949 have an extra dose because some of them were born during that eclipse in the same signs that we have going on now. So then we have the group born from 1970 to 71. And these people have the planet Uranus, the change agent, the awakener, in this section of Libra. And so that group is really feeling it. And then we have 1974 to 1977, people have Pluto in Libra, and they're really, really feeling the intensity and transformational dynamics here. So these particular generational groups are, kind of like getting activated in a strong way by this solar eclipse. And the solar
Mhm.
eclipse opens a window into the whole lunar cycle. So we're looking at this next 4 weeks. And then we have the full moon in the middle, which is also going to be quite something, because that full moon is going to be further in Libra and look right at Chiron, which is about the teacher healer energy. It's about a kind of level of quantum shift. And the Libra is the leading edge of what this this eclipse is inviting us into. And we've been talking about this for a while, that the South Node in Libra has to do with relationship, and the North Node has to do with staying centered in yourself, like
Mhm.
clear in yourself. So this solar eclipse is like a major exclamation point in this process of tuning in to the relationship with ourself, which is the primary relationship,
Oh yeah.
and finding balance between your inner and your outer experience, and how they are related or not related. And this goes into any balance you can think about in your life with other relationships as well. So this is part of finding the harmony within yourself, and a harmony and peace, and staying on that path. I don't know if anybody remembers the TV show Kung Fu. I think it was called Kung Fu. And the guy was always like walking on this like razor's edge, keeping his
Mhm.
balance the whole way. And this is kind of what this is like. Because Aries is staying in your integrity, in your clarity, no matter what influences are pushing or pulling you, even off balance the slightest. And that's what I was saying earlier about when we walk, we're picking up our foot and we are a little out of balance, almost like leaning forward. And then we put that foot forward. And if we didn't do that, we'd fall. So
Mhm.
there's something in the way she moves that is really inviting us into like every step. And in every step you take, if you are centered and aligned with your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energy, which is what Chiron is about, and sort of the testing point of the full moon coming up in 2 weeks, then you can stay there without feeling this tug, without getting off balance, without, even just a little bit. Libra can go to extremes. And that's part of what we're seeing, because some people are so out of balance already, they have to get really out of balance with a little vertigo, even to realize that, oh, okay, I need to come back to center point here.
Mhm.
So this is a challenge. Now, what else do we have around this new moon energy? So we can look at that. Let's look at the storyline first, because there's quite a lot of points in Libra. And I've before introduced the Sabian symbols
Mhm.
that represent kind of a storyline. And so there's several of them going on here. And so I'm going to read these images and see what kind of a story. I think there is a kind of connecting theme here. So the dragon tail. So this is karma from the past. And you mentioned that we're doing a lot of clearing in relation to Atlantis.
Yeah.
And this would suggest that it's a portal through clearing that, and balancing out the karma.
Mhm.
And I've heard somewhere or other that many of us were there and got seduced by the dark side in a way that created the fall of Atlantis. And so if we had that happen, we'd probably come back to balance out that karma and make it up and hold on to the light this time. I don't know. That 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 storyline kind of made sense to me in many ways.
hmm a lot of us, and also the wizardry I get that was going on there.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
realizing that being magical doesn't have anything to do with physical things anymore. Like that's
Mm.
changing. So that was kind of it's like wizardry got thrown into being a 3D thing, and that
Mm.
is changing. So you're not going to be needing physical items to
Mm.
create magic in the future.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Um,
So we have the image of a woman feeding chickens and protecting them from the hawks. The whole nurturing energy is a strong theme of this new moon also, which we'll be looking at. And then there's and that's where the karmic situation is. That's, you know, finding, you know, protecting, and that's the self-care as well, protecting ourselves.
mhm,
Then we have where the new moon actually is. At 11, we round up. A canoe, oh, not, we're at 10, right? A canoe is approaching safety through dangerous waters. Now that made a lot of sense to me, you know, in terms of we are, you know, crossing the great water, as the I Ching says, and we are moving toward a safe zone.
mhm.
And then here is the one of that's the exact one, the pronounced one. A professor peering over his glasses at his students. Now that intrigues me because it has to do with relationship. And also it sort of asks the question, what glasses are you looking through
Mhm.
in terms of interpreting your reality? And what color are those glasses? You know, are they colored? Are they, you know, because this eclipse also has the planet Mercury here, which is a kind of questioning of how are we choosing, like, for instance, which reality we're buying into?
Mhm.
How are we our how is our perception filtered by personal stuff or collective stuff that is blinding us to actually what is going on, so we're not seeing clearly, like through a
Right.
dark glass kind of thing. There's some, you know, famous phrases like that, looking through a glass darkly, and some
Mhm.
people are. And so are we looking through a negative filter or are we looking through a positive filter? But what this new moon is saying, neither. So the black moon here, this is the black moon Lilith. And the black moon is about it is as it is.
Mhm.
You don't have to be overly positive. You don't have to be overly negative. Just look at what's going on. And that requires a bit of stepping back. So the professor is like, he's not looking at his book anymore. He's looking at the people. And it's like, okay, where are they at? What is going on with them? So that's us, like in relationship. What is going on in this relationship? It
Mhm.
may not be what we want or what we imagine. And are we seeing that other person for who they really are? And with the Mercury, are we communicating in a way that the other person is going to understand us? Or are we just, you know, kind of spewing words? Words have power, and it's also thoughts do. So, so this is like Libra is an air sign that has to do with our mental state. And
Yeah.
Mercury does also have to do with our mental state. So aspects of the rational mind require a kind of different focus than that of emotion, feelings, or even of intuition. So it's a particular, uh, it is as it is, without having colored glasses or bifocals or you know, kind of. So how are we relating to what is going on around us? So there's something in that. And then if we add in the black moon, now the black moon is a really interesting dynamic because, and here I'm going to give you a graphic here, some graphics for the black moon, because I've done the black moon called me in. She says, "Okay, I want to have a relationship with you and I want you to write about me." So I have actually written 2 books about Lilith.
Oh, wow.
So the black moon is defined by the moon's orbit around the Earth. And this is where that second moon coming in becomes really intriguing because I'm wondering if it's a physical manifestation of this black moon Lilith energy, which is an aspect of the divine feminine, but not the flowery side, the
Hmm.
deep, dark side. That's the hidden side. And here's a quote from a British writer. It is as though the moon threw down a black body upon earth, visible only to the invisible senses, which thereby become illuminated. So the black moon has a very subtle, non-physical energy because it's not a moon.
Right.
So here, if the moon is going around the earth, it's not a perfect circle. So, if it were, the Earth would be in the middle and there we would be, but no, all orbits are elliptical. And
Mhm.
so here's the ellipse, and an ellipse has 2 focal points that define the orbit. So the Earth is one of the focal points. And this is what's called the empty focus of the moon's orbit around the Earth. That's a mathematical, intimate key point that has to do with that orbit. And it's not a physical moon.
Mhm.
It's like a vortex energy. It's this mathematical point. It's like it has to do with the geometry. It has to do with something non-physical, something, and I think of it as soul related. So it's sort of like the moon can be thought of as the mother's womb that incarnates us onto earth. And I started thinking about the black moon as the desire of the soul to incarnate. And it's not a life purpose, it's not a reason. It's like, I desire that experience. Your soul desires that experience, especially at a time like this. Wow.
Mhm.
So this is the black moon. It has to do with your soul desire. And what I've come to realize about the black moon from a Vedic astrology point of view, the Vedic teachings go way back. They talk about the Divine Mother putting the soul spark in in a special place called the Holy Womb Chakra.
Mhm.
And that is where our soul spark lives through all of our incarnations. So this black moon carries our soul history, which includes a lot of trauma and dark stuff and memories and history. And so how do we heal this? How do we work through all of this? And the karma can build up and build up and build up. But here we are at a time and at a special moment in with this eclipse where something coming through can dissolve some of this toxic energy. And maybe that's why these storms are coming through. Maybe that's why we're called to go inward before we go outward. Oh,
Mhm.
so this is the black of starless night, a state of translucence or transparency that is beyond dark, and light. This is a radiant black, a radiant darkness. So when we go into the dark, if we're there long enough, there's almost like some light emerges.
Mhm.
And and this is it. This is beyond the senses. This is a spiritual dimension. And that's where we can find this light that is not visible to daylight eyes. So this black moon is coming in, and it's related to the nodes of the moon that are the karmic cycle. So that the black moon, it takes half the time to go around through the zodiac, let us say, than the eclipses take to come back around. The eclipse cycles like this one we're in now, 18 years ago, we would have had one right here in the same place. And you can look back at October 18 years ago and kind of look at what was going on with you, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, so this is this evocative kind of energy coming through that is non-rational. And Libra likes rational. It's like, okay, this is non-rational. So it has to do with our level of perception. So here's one of the mythic stories of Lilith, which is a photograph I took at Chartres Cathedral when I was writing my Living Lilith book,
Mhm.
of Lilith coming back as the woman-headed serpent who gave Eve the apple. Now, is that the fall of man? Or, does Lilith come back to say there's something you need to know, especially about the divine feminine and its balance with the masculine, the divine masculine and feminine, and in relationship. So there's something about within ourselves, the relationship between the masculine and feminine. And then that, is mirrored by our relationships, in the male and female in our relational experience.
Mhm.
So, oh,
So good.
so
Yeah.
I have another one here too. And this has to do with the power of creativity. Now, if we are in answering the invitation of the dragon head in Aries, and we're being tuned into our clarity, which in a way has to do with the still point, then tuning into desire is not a frivolous thing. It's what is our soul's desire.
Mhm.
And I think of the black moon as being a real ego buster, because she does not want us to live from our ego false identity projection. She wants us to live from our soul essence. So we are being absolutely called to that.
Mhm.
And so in this a theater production, Back to Methuselah, that the famous writer George Bernard Shaw wrote decades ago, he gives Lilith a voice because Eve met Lilith in the Garden of Eden and had a conversation with her. And Lilith said, "You imagine what you desire." Right?
Mhm.
That's intuitive side. That's the I desire something. Here's my vision.
Mhm.
You will what you imagine. So you put your intention behind it, and at last you create what you will. In one word, to conceive. So this is the call of this solar eclipse. What is it that the soul wants to create and be living? And this is going beyond the rational mind or ideas about, and going to something more primal in us, deeper and more ancient and essential.
Yep. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to create, it's time to imagine the life that you wish for.
And not be buying into the limitations of our current experience.
Yep, non-attachment. So
Oh,
that's what the whole Lilith thing, it's like being the observer, watching, seeing what it is without all of the
mm,
noise that we usually carry, and just actually seeing what's happening and not attaching anything to it,
mhm.
especially our emotional baggage.
Those are, our emotional, we have a lot of illusions there. We have a lot of projections, expectations,
Hmm.
we have a lot of like unreal stuff, and this is like the play of the Divine Mother. I'm going to throw you another illusion and see if you can see through it.
Yeah.
And something in the Divine Masculine has to do with that still point from which everything else comes, into play.
Hmm.
So yeah, so this is it. And the groups that I mentioned earlier are getting a real challenge along this line in relation to your generational agenda at this point to get more tuned in and clear to what that is and what your relationship is with the collective from your own individual experience. So this is, a big aspect of and as we saw in the chart, yeah, here we go with the chart again. So the new moon is in the same degree as the black moon. And Mercury's like right there. This is quite a cluster. This is quite a mixed brew here that is coming through the past. And so, we've been talking for several lunations, honey, about soul groups and meeting people from our soul groups. And some of them are, we have karma with them and we're needing to balance it out. And this is
Yeah.
an excellent time to do that. And you can't do that by accommodating the other person. And that's the Aries challenge. Now look at what else we have in Aries. I mentioned Chiron, the teacher healer that we're going to see on the full moon. But here is Salacia, who's the mermaid who makes the sunlight sparkle on the sea. And she's one of these new objects in the Kuiper belt that's beyond Pluto. And so she's about all this plasma light that's coming in that's invisible, but we can feel it. This is the preliminary solar flare energy. This is light just streaming in
Hmm.
to help wash away these accommodations, get us back to our clear balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see it, if people are not aware and they're not actively dealing with their shadows and actively clearing, then they're going to be cleared energetically, which is why we have these big storms and why we have, the thunderstorms and the wind and that's why we're having that energy clearing, because basically if you're not actively doing it, it's going to be done anyway because the frequency is requiring it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is the light coming in and washing through in various forms.
Mhm.
And it's invisible. There's the light in the darkness. It's etheric. It's etheric is the fifth element,
Yeah.
which is where the non-physical becomes physical. And that's the intention of creation that Lilith was talking about to Eve in the garden back there.
Mhm.
So um
Love
uh
this.
so um so I'm gonna I think I can, I'm going to read this part from my book,
Okay.
Living Lilith book about Lilith in the Black Moon in Libra. So this is an image of the goddess related to the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, who is the goddess of justice, and she maintains harmony of the spheres and celestial law. And she wears this feather in her headdress, which is her hieroglyphic symbol. And she holds the scales of Libra, and she'll put this feather of truth on one side of the scales, and on the other side, she'll weigh your heart or your soul to see how it balances with the feather of truth. So this is a key theme of what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
On earth as it is in heaven. That's what we're going for. So balance is the key, delicate as it is. And Lilith does not want an easy compromise for the sake of temporary peace. Lilith in Libra weighs the give and take in each relationship, adjusting the subtle balance of karmic accounts known only at the soul level. There is an exchange going on in any encounter with another person, in the very air between you, in words spoken or not. Ideas can contrast or harmonize in heightened ways. The outcome will be based on the intent behind the words, whether it be competitive or cooperative, and if there is a true desire to understand the other. When the desire to be in relationship outweighs self-integrity, frustrations and tensions develop. So as wide as the pendulum might swing, it will eventually come back to the center point. Libra, with Lilith and Libra, is shrewd at finding the common ground and dancing lightly along the middle line. She holds a kind of objectivity that is a non-judgmental, like it is as it is, just an objectivity
Mm-hmm.
that holds to the higher cosmic law, far beyond the jurisdiction of potentially, politically swaying. We see a lot of that going on. So Lilith and Libra shows that the choices we make, even when we don't know that we're making them, can drastically alter our lives and those of others. Lilith reveals the inescapable truths in the paradox of our choices and life situations. Do the benefits and detractions balance each other? Choices don't need to be made before we get to the choice point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Lilith in Libra, you may have a special talent for meaningful connections and seeing relationships between ideas, philosophies, and people of different cultures or time periods. And I want to go back to those generations I mentioned and those years I mentioned, because this would apply to you as well. So all polarities that are complementary eventually join in union and become one. And there's that a wonderful quote from Rumi that I love: out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
So then, okay, so that's the core. And remembering receiving the light coming through and feeling it also arising in yourself
Mm-hmm.
from that integrity and that connecting at the soul level rather than the superficial aspects. We're going for core energy here. And then we've got this beautiful triangle of planets in water signs, which are the feeling signs. The signs that tune in are very sensitive, can be psychic, are caring and compassionate, and can often feel what other people are feeling. And we need to be careful of that, right? We don't want to, be swimming in somebody else's waters. And that's one of the big challenges right now of clarifying our own energy field and where our membrane, kind of is that place between the inner and the outer.
Mhm.
Now, Libra is ruled by Venus. We talked about Venus way early as being the goddess of abundance and all beauty and beautiful things and harmony and grace. And Venus is in Scorpio, which is this, that's a sign that can go really down there and tune in to what's going on in the undercurrents. And so this is the shadow work that we are doing emotionally to release those things getting in our way that are creating static and being
Mhm.
able to, like Scorpio can do, alchemize feelings we don't want to be feeling. It's like, I don't want to be feeling this way. Okay, well then go in there and work with that, and so that shadow energy, as you've talked about a lot, um, can hold some of the most central things to ourselves. We just haven't looked at that. We've been afraid, even of our own success sometimes.
Mhm.
Is it like even okay for me to think about being happy or wanting something? So that's part of this emotional alchemy that Venus is offering in Scorpio as an adjunct to the moon energy, the new moon energy, and all through, the next couple of weeks until the full moon. Because I think the full moon, which is on October 17th, um, Venus and that's her last day in Scorpio. So we've got these 2 weeks of the waxing moon. Now we also have, this Saturn in Pisces, which we've talked about a lot because that's this kind of getting really clear about our energy fields and what do I want to say? I want to say staying steady in face of a lot of distractions
Mhm.
that can, pull us off center. And then we have Mars in Cancer, which is nurturing and tender and caring. And it's a really beautiful energy. It can be very psychic. Water signs are very psychic and tuned in. So this energy is here to we need to drink water. We need to, be hydrating ourselves and feeling attuned with the water energy that's incredibly primary in our experience.
Mhm.
And if we can, kind of flush out toxicity and, purify our waters, that's part of the job we have right now too. So
Yeah.
Mars is in Cancer an extra long time. In a couple of months, we'll be talking about Mars going retrograde and kind of staying in Cancer extra long. So the self-care theme is very strong, and also exploring the relationship between what you want and what you need,
Mhm.
which can be different. But I like the idea if they're if you're really in tune with yourself, hopefully they're the same. So this is a really beautiful energy and that's very supportive. So your feelings can support you. Taking rest and just tuning in to how am I feeling? I feel a bit of static here. Where is that coming from? What's going on? Tuning into dreams and, letting the healing happen there. Um, the other day I was hearing a song and it was, what was that song? What I heard the song say was, um, we're dreaming our way back to love, but that wasn't what the name of the song is. It was more like returning to love or something. But I
Mhm.
heard it the way I needed to hear it, right? So
Yeah.
dream our way back to love seems like a beautiful way to go.
Mhm. That's what we're doing, I
Yes.
think, because we're creating it. And the first thing that you do is you have this desire, you send it out to the universe, you release it like this huge balloon. And the universe catches it and then sends it back to you in a more solid way.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it is
Hmm.
it we are dreaming, and remember, thoughts are things. So
Yes.
when you create a thought, especially if you write it down,
Mm.
then it becomes even more solid. And when you release it, like let's say you put it in a drawer and you're just like, okay, that's what I wish for, and I'm going to put it in a drawer and I'm going to let the universe take it, then it'll come back to you as soon as you vibrated up to it. So then once you release your dream, the only thing you need to do is work on yourself, take care of yourself. And the self care is so important right now because this is how we're clearing the things that have been in the way for so long.
And Mars is going to be in Cancer most of the time, well into next year.
Mhm.
So this is a very strong theme moving forward of, where the action needs to be taken, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves.
Mhm.
And then so we can be in harmony with ourselves first and then with others. So, and
Exactly.
this chart has only two Earth sign planets, Uranus and Pluto, which are collective transformation planets. So when we're working on these other levels, both the mental, the relational, on all of those levels and being in harmony with everything in our lives as much as we can, and being sensitive to the feelings and the currents moving through, the collective transformation on the ground level is supported and transformed accordingly.
Mhm. Yeah. So I feel like we're in the tower moment right now. So if you can imagine that this is your tower and we are climbing up this side. So we're starting to climb up. And as the first people reach the top, they will start to topple the tower.
Hmm.
But all of these people will be protected because they're climbing the tower as well. And then it will fall, and these people will leap off, and that will be the highest parallel, and they will start to create the beauty that we are waiting for. And then these people will eventually join them as they get clearer and clearer and more healed. So we're in it right now because you can imagine it as an island or you can imagine it as an actual tower. And we're here, and some people are up here. So we're
I love
about to
that
hit,
tower. It's a
yeah,
tower of flowers.
yeah. So just kind of knowing that we're in the tower moment is
Mhm.
important, and how fast it moves is about us,
Mm.
but these energies are here to support.
Yeah, if we try to move too fast, says Mars in Cancer, we'll we might get nervous or frustrated because Cancer's like,
Mhm.
I need to know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Cancer doesn't jump into the water. In some ways, we are being challenged to jump into some waters. And it's
Yes.
okay, I'm going to hold my breath. I'll be okay. It's just how do you take care of yourself through all of this? And what do? Smooth your ruffled feathers when you start to get security issues coming up in the face of such extraordinary change. So just take care of yourself and move at your pace that works for you and speed it up when that's called for.
Yeah. Totally being willing to pause, and the world will have a pause, but
Mm,
also being willing to pause in your own life. Say, listen, I need to take 3 days off. I need to just take a little break here and just let it settle
hmm
is important because you don't want to be. staying in fight or flight very long.
Yeah.
You want to let go of it quickly and just settle down and let the clarity come in. Yeah. I'm so excited for right now. So
You must be one of those people that has Uranus and Libra, 70, 71, right around in that arena.
I'm a 71 and my
Yes.
husband is a 69. So
Because
yeah.
Uranus is the planet of excitement. It's like follow your highest excitement. This is like, wow, roller coaster ride and you're on it.
Yeah. And I definitely have a very sensitive side as well, but it follows, it's like a rubber band, it follows the rest of me and then smacks me once in a while. And then I have to pause. So
Lilith will smack you. She
yeah,
will. She's like, she's like, you're not coming from your deepest self. Get back there.
yeah.
And she can be a real ego buster, and that's why she has a lot of darkness in her mythology.
Mhm.
And it's also like the goddess Durga in Hindu mythology, who is like deeply capable of overcoming negativity and evil,
Mhm.
almost more than any other god or goddess. And several of the gods and goddesses had to get together to create her. But then she's got this lovely, flowery, beautiful side. But when it comes to it, and there's Venus and Scorpio right now, it's like no fooling around here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at a big jumping off point. Like a lot of us are here and we're just waiting to be standing here and push this tower over. So we're
Mm.
just going like this basically. And everybody walking up the tower on the other side is going to be absolutely fine. They're just taking a little bit longer to get to the top. And
That
when
is
it
so
topples,
great,
they
the
will
metaphor.
ride it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love that. And there's the scales. There's gonna be a tipping point. Let's see what's going on by the full moon in 2 weeks.
oh yeah. I'm so excited and I do feel like that second moon, they're calling it, which is a small asteroid, some people say. I feel like it is a being, and that being is here to create change. It's almost like poking to make sure the change continues. It's inserting another energy into it,
Yeah.
which, yeah,
Yeah, I wonder about I don't know if I want to use the word gravitational effect, but the energetic effect can be very interesting.
yeah,
And that's why, if they call the black moon a moon, I mean, maybe she did take form and said, okay, I'm going to be in on this one. This is my moon cycle. I'm coming.
mhm,
So I don't know. That's a thought.
yeah. Well, and that face has been appearing next to the moon all the time. So it could be that. And I'm not going to conjecture like who it is because it's going to appear energetically to different people in different
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. But to me, it's a being and they're going to create a massive change.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Also, this this full moon is like kind of inaugurates some spiritual holidays. Like
Mhm.
there's Rosh Hashanah, there's the Feast of Trumpets, there's also in the Hindu culture Navaratri, which is 9 nights of the goddess. So and I'm not quite sure of other people's, but there's a lot of celebratory energies that are the
Yeah.
spiritual celebrations.
Well, and it comes at on a very cool number, the 17th.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, quantum, Q for quantum.
Yeah. Very cool. So,
QUOOL.
yes. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I feel like we're in a jumping off point right now. So just trust your intuition, take care of yourself, and allow the changes to come in.
Mhm.
But really, if you need to float for a while, let yourself float.
And stay in balance,
Yeah.
don't jump until you've got your footing.
Mhm. Yeah. This is going to be so exciting. So thank you so much, Kelley.
Okay.
So
Well,
good.
beyond
Yeah.
right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to let everybody know that Kelley's Substack and her website are below. So if you want to have a reading, make sure that you contact her. I've had a reading and it was tremendous. So it really is a cool thing to know where you came from. Astrology is changing constantly right now, but when you were born, that's still a stationary thing. That's when you chose to come in to kind of create that personality that you came in with.
And it's
So
not about fortune predicting. It's not about saying what's going to happen. It's like what energies are active that you're engaged with right now, and how can you be in that energy and find yourself more
yeah,
empowered through it, basically.
exactly. So I really enjoyed it and I just want to relay that to everybody. So definitely check her out if you're interested. Okay. Thank you, Kelley. I
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.